Welcome to episode 1 of how to make a tactical shooter in Unreal Engine. My name is Carl, and together we are going to make something special. Good games are built on solid foundations, so that's what we're going to focus on today. Make sure you lock it in and stick around to the end of the video, because this one might just be the most important in the entire series. So this is where we start. We're starting in the Epic Games Launcher, and we're just going to open up a fresh Unreal Engine project. We're going to set this up using 2 different projects, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So let's actually just click Games, and we are going to start with a blank project, and let's just rename this My Shooter Game. Just like this. Click Create. We don't need to enable anything for right now, because we want this bare bones as possible, and we're going to do everything from scratch. Will be a completely blank project apart from this map that loads up or level that loads up. If you're familiar with my videos, I call maps levels and levels maps, so we're going to create a new level and start with an empty level just like this. Later on we will create a proper one, don't worry, this is just the start. Then we're going to click save, so we go file, save, straight away, save all or save level, whatever you want, and rename this to something like m_shooter. That's what I'm going to rename mine. That should be good for me. So let me actually spell it correctly. And we are done. Here we go. So let's go to Window, Environmental Light Mixer, and just click all of these buttons. That'll just add in all the basic lights. Quite minimalistic, but it is a very good starting point. Then we're going to select them all, click this little folder icon, and then add a new folder called Lighting. Now we have all them. We can actually drag all these up when we have the folder selected, just so we're not moving around and clicking on it by accident, really. Then we're going to go to the landscape mode, which basically lets us create a landscape. You can actually hold Control and Alt, and it'll give you the documentation page on that, by the way, just like this. Control Alt, and you can actually click this, and it'll open up the Epic Games website with the documentation on. So if you want to learn anything from the actual documentation, this is basically how you do it. Control and Alt on basically anything. We're not going to do anything too special because this is definitely not going to be our level. We are going to create a sick one, don't worry about that. I'm just going to go 7 by 7, make it a small little level, and then we're going to go back to selection mode, and here we are. Okay, so this is where you probably need to lock in, okay? Let's get this folder structure correct, okay? So we're not going to create a load of folders yet. We're actually going to create a new project and then import them just like that. This is the best and most efficient way of doing it, I've found. Trust me, I've been testing this loads and loads and loads in the last couple of days, and I found this is probably the best way. So yeah, let's open up another project. If it goes really laggy, you might want to close this one, that's fine, but yeah, we're going to create a new one. Okay, we're going to go to games, and then what we need to do is go to the first person. I'm going to change it to the arena shooter for now. This is just going to give us some base assets that we can actually use, and I'm just going to rename this Migration, because we're going to be migrating the assets from this project into our main project. Now, the reason I didn't do it by just clicking like Migrate, it is so messy when you import all the folders, so this is just a definitely just a more optimal way of doing it. When we go to weapons, we actually have a pistol folder, we have a rifle folder, we have imports, first person characters, everything, okay? Everything you would need to start up a basic game. Let's just go in and have a look at our rifle. This is the static mesh for the basic rifle we'll be using, but we will replace it with an actual proper mesh later, don't worry. I'm not just going to leave it like this. Here is our pistol mesh, which looks pretty good. So what we can do, we can actually right click on the weapons folder, and let's just organize this here. We can just click these little arrows here just to minimize all the folders and click OK. Then what we're going to do is go to our documents folder, that's where mine is, into Unreal, My Shooter Game, Content, and select that folder. Now it has to be the content folder. If you get an error, it means you're not putting in the content folder. Okay, so we need a character and a skeleton, okay? But we probably won't use this. The main reason we're importing this is because we actually need to have a skeleton where we can retarget the animations. Now, if you're a beginner, don't worry about what I'm waffling on about. I will teach you that in a later video. That is just going to be retargeting the animations from one skeleton to another. And as you can see, we have all these pretty cool animations. And just as a little disclaimer, the weapons and the animations and the character, everything we import right now will not be in the final game. This is just a starting point and it's a good foundation to build on. So we're going to migrate this characters folder and click OK. We're going to go back to the content, click it once, don't double click it, select content and migrate. Sweet. Migrating 104 assets. That is perfect. Then what we can actually do is go back to a My Shooter game, and as you can see, we have these two clean folders with everything organized inside. Perfect. So it's all looking pretty good. We have our weapons, we have our mesh, and we have some animations to work with from a starting point. What we want to do now is just create a new folder inside the content folder called level or maps, completely up to you. And I'm just going to move the base level into that folder, just to keep everything organized. Trust me, when this gets like jam-packed, this will make a lot of difference, and you don't want to be messing about renaming assets and renaming folders and trying to structure it properly like later on. Trust me, the foundation is important. Next, I just want to show you this character here. This is called the Quantum Modular Character Free Sample. This is another asset pack that you can use. And also, if you don't have any animations and you want to use some different ones, you can actually use the animation starter pack. Both of them are completely free on the Epic Games Marketplace, or well, on Fab, I think it is. So you can go and download them, and you can integrate it into this video. Now, I just want to make a little point that this is not my shooter game. This is our shooter game. So feel free to change any animations you want, change anything on the fly. I'm just giving a basic overview. So I've just gone into the content browser, clicked add content and starter content. This will add the starter content, which just gives us some base materials and other assets to work with. As you can see, it gives us some like basic audio, a HDRI map, some materials and textures, whatever. It's just really useful to have. Now I'm just going to update this right here and delete the unreferenced stuff, and going to go to the content folder and validate assets, just like this, and click yes. That should just stop any errors. Usually I don't really get any, but I just like to do this anyway. I just like to validate all the assets in the in our project, just when we start. Stops us getting errors later on. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up the File Explorer, go to Unreal Projects, and delete the migration one, because we don't want that taking up space. Then we're going to go into My Shooter Game, into Content, and we're going to delete the empty folder here, the level one, because when I renamed it, for some reason, it just made a new folder. So yeah, I'm just going to delete it here because it will not delete in the editor for some reason. Sweet. Alright, we're going to get onto the fun stuff in a minute, but first we need to go to Edit and go to Project Settings and change the maps and modes to our default shooter level, whichever one you made earlier. Whatever you renamed it, I renamed mine M_shooter level, so I'm just going to click these. Then when we open up our project after closing it, it should load this level by default. Then just type in clip and change the near clip plane to 1 or 0.1. It's completely up to you. That just stops the camera clipping. Then we're actually going to go to plugins folder and make sure Metahuman is enabled if you want to use a Metahuman. Now, it doesn't really matter if you don't want to use one, just use SK and Mani, or use your own character like the Quantum Soldier, or even just go and create one. But I'm going to use a Metahuman because I think they look amazing. And let's just go to the Quixel bridge and go to Metahumans, and I will show you how you can set this up. So here are all the Metahuman presets. You can literally just click one of these and use it if you want, or you can create your own. So here are some I've created in the past. I have Ralphie, I have Ken, I have Ralphie Base, I have Ollie, and I have the guy from Squid Game. So yeah, let's just have a look through these. Here's Ralphie, and we can actually click Start Metahuman Creator, like this. Click this little button, and this will open up this website. Now you might have to log in where I am. I did, but I've just fast forwarded it and cut the video. And I'm just going to fast forward now because this takes about 3 years. And there we go. With the magic of editing, I have skipped forward 3 years and it is finally loaded. Yep, so at this point when I was editing this video, my editor decided to crash and corrupted all my footage, so this is re-edited and re-recorded. Bloody lovely. Right, let's get back. So we're in the MetaHuman creator, and here we have a couple of characters. You can create your own by clicking create on the top left, or go to My MetaHumans and use the one you've already created if you have one. If not, just use the default one. It's completely up to you. Now, you don't actually even have to just create one. You could create multiple if you've got the time, and we can make it look a little bit better by adding custom MetaHuman enemies if that's something you're interested in. But we can always just create more MetaHumans down the line. I have the guy from Squid Game, Song Jiun, I think he's called. And if you don't know what I'm on about, I'm going to show you right now. This is the guy. This is from my Squid Game tutorial series. But yeah, it just shows the level of customization you can actually go into with these metahumans. So as this is a beginner tutorial, I'm actually going to show you how you can actually change your metahumans, like you can actually customize them. So just gone into Ralphie, and we can actually change the proportions, we can change the tops. So if I wanted to add a shirt, for example, and some suit pants and some nice shoes, we could do that just like this. Click shoes, and there we go. We can actually change this. You can obviously change the proportions to make him fat, thin, tall, small, whatever you want, male, female, whatever you desire. You can probably do it in the MetaHuman creator. Now this looks pretty good for me. I'm pretty happy with this. So you don't actually have to do anything. All you have to do is just click home in the top left, just like that. That will save it, and you can X out once this is loaded. Wait for it to load. Come on, there we go, and just click leave. Don't worry, it'll save your progress. Then in the Quixel Bridge window inside of Unreal, we actually get this little notification saying our MetaHuman has not been updated. Now, for me, this is really glitchy, and when I click update, it just doesn't update. So, yeah, I'm just going to click generate. And actually, do you know what? I want the high version, so let's stop this. Probably going to mess it up. And yes, it has. There is a perfect example of why I shouldn't have done that. But it doesn't really matter. Obviously, we can change it down the line because we're using the exact same skeleton. So I'm just going to import this, and then we're going to enable the missing plugins just here and here, like this. And yep, it's still not working. Let's just click the X and we can restart our editor. Now, I do have a free shooter template on my Patreon, patreon.com/Carly. Go and check it out if you want to go and test that out. It's ready for download right now, along with all my project files from every tutorial on my channel. Shameless plug, patreon.com/Carly. Also, I've just launched a Discord server where we can all help each other debug code or basically just chill out if you want. Right, okay, so what we're going to do now is actually organize some of our folders without plug in all my social media. How nice is that? So now we're back in the editor, we can actually right click the folders and assign a color. This just helps us highlight which folders are important and going to be used a lot, and as you work through this tutorial series you'll get used to your own little colors, so just pick anyone you want. I'm just going to recolor these and just make them all different colors. Okay, so let's just quickly make a blueprints folder as well. I forgot to add this earlier, so I'm just going to right click, new folder, and blueprints, and we will skip ahead. Now, if we go to the world settings on the right hand side and click this drop down, as you can see, we have nothing in here. Our engine has no clue what is going on. So we're actually just going to create a couple of these things. So once again, new folder, and let's rename this something like world. This needs to be like core stuff. So maybe world fundamentals. Yeah, that sounds smart. We'll do that. And inside our world fundamentals, let's go to blueprint class and let's select player controller. We'll rename this PC underscore shooter, just like this. And we need another one, type game mode. So this is going to be GM for game mode, shooter, just like this. And let's actually put an M into there. There we go. Now we have our shooter basic game mode and we have our player controller. Right, okay, so let's open up our game mode just like this and we can pre-assign some stuff. So as you can see, this is basically the same as the world settings. If we just actually dock this here, we can actually have a look on the right side, and all these are basically the same. We can just pre-assign it by using our game mode. Sweet. So for the player controller, we're going to use PC shooter, and for the default pawn class, we don't actually have one, and this is something that we need to create. This is going to be our default character in our game. Now let's just go into the world settings first, select GM shooter, and as you can see, we still need a character, but our PC shooter is set. Perfect. Now we need a main character, so let's go into our characters folder, right click, new folder, and rename this main character, just like this. Sweet. If I can actually spell it properly, we can actually go into the folder, and then we can create a new blueprint class. So right click, blueprint class, character, and we're going to name this BP underscore shooter character, player character, basically whatever you want. It might be worth renaming it the same as mine, just so it's easier to follow along if you're new. If you're advanced, then don't worry. Next, what we need to do is assign this character in our game mode. So open up your game mode again, and for the default pawn class, we're going to choose BP shooter character, which is, it's basically the same as doing it on here. It'll change it in both ways. Sweet. Now, when we click play, we will spawn as our player character, but we don't have anything inside our player character, so we're not seeing anything. Let's add the important stuff. So we need a mesh so we can actually see the character, and we have a load of meshes down here, but the names are really confusing. I mean, if we wanted to, we could just add a SKM Manny, just like this, SKM Manny simple, and it gives us a mesh, and if we click play, we actually spawn as this mesh. Now, we're having a bit of an issue. That is because, number one, we're rotated the wrong way, and we want to be rotated in the x-axis, which is the red arrow, I think. You can see it in the bottom left corner anyway. So -90, -90, and that will drop us down and rotate us the right way. And we don't actually have a camera, so it's always going to spawn the camera. Well, it's always going to spawn us in the level inside our character. So let's click add, and I'm going to search for spring arm, just like this. And next, with the spring arm selected, we are going to add a camera. Now, down the line, we are going to add a gameplay camera system. But first, let's just add this parent socket, which is spring endpoint. And we can actually move the spring arm around to change our camera view. If we go back into the level, as you can see, we are now using the camera we've just added. And if we want to change this around in real time, we can actually do this. So just pull out this tab, and with the spring arm selected, we can actually go and rotate, and it will update in real time. Just make sure that we click, one second. We need to click play, just like this, and then we should be able to rotate it. There we go. Sweet. So we can actually get a good look in real time at what our character is going to look like in game. So I'm just going to move this up a little bit and rotate it. Maybe I will change the target arm length on the spring arm. But firstly, we just want to get the rotation right and the height. So let's just move this down a little bit. If you're wondering how I'm switching between, I'm just pressing space on my keyboard to change the different like modes for like rotation or like the move tool, for example. Now, when we are playing, it is spawning us wherever we are hovering. So we're hovering here, and we'll go over here and click play, and it'll spawn us here. We do not want this. We want to assign a place where we actually want to spawn. So right click anywhere, place actor, player start. This is going to be our spawn point, and you can press F2 on your keyboard to rename this. I'm going to rename it spawn point, just like this, and then we can rotate it by pressing space, go into the rotation mode, and rotating it by 180 degrees, just like this. Now we have a nice spawn point, and no matter where we are in the camera, it's always going to spawn us at the spawn point. So if I move over here, click play, always going to spawn us there. Sweet. So let's go and change our default character from this boring SK mannequin, SK Manny simple, whatever it is, to a metahuman. So let's go into the metahumans folder, which you'll have if you imported your metahuman earlier, and then it'll be BP, whatever your metahuman's called. Mine's BP Ralphie, so I'm just going to go into here, just like this, and we can actually go onto the viewport, and this is what it looks like in game. Looks pretty cool. Now, what we need to do is we need to get the body and all the descendants. So we're going to drag body onto root, delete the root just like this, and press shift on your keyboard and select everything. So from top to bottom, you should have body, feet, legs, torso, face, and then all the other stuff. I'm going to copy that, select mesh in the BP main character, shooter character, and paste it on top of the mesh, just like this. And it should spawn in like this. You might need to slow that part of the video down if you're new, but yeah, this is how you do it, and this is how it should look in your editor. Right, we're going to do the same as we did before. So with the body selected, we're going to go -90 and -90. This should put us in a pretty good position, quite similar to the SKM Money Simple, just like this. And now we actually need to change some stuff. So right here, when I click body, as you can see, it is selecting the hands and the ankles. And basically what we want to do is change it from the body onto the mesh. So with the mesh selected, we're actually going to click this little back arrow to delete it, reset it to none, and now you can see we have our character. And he's bald for some reason, but we'll fix that in a second. That is the LODs. Now, I already know what our skeleton is, so this isn't a problem for me, but it might be a problem for you. So just look closely. If we click this little folder icon, it'll say M, medium, something, something, something for me. Yours will be in all content, Metahumans, Ralphie, and body. Yours might not be called Ralphie, but yeah, it's that skeleton mesh. Go and rename it right now, because trust me, it'll be a pain in the arse later. Might as well just do it now. Then on the body of your shooter character, go and change it to that body. Sweet. Okay, disclaimer, I kind of made a mistake, but go and change the actual mesh of the shooter character here to the body, like that. And you'll probably still have the body here. We can actually just go and delete this. Sorry for that. If that's a little bit confusing, just pause or rewind the video and it'll be sweet. Don't worry. Okay, so it probably looks like everything's messed up, and kind of has, but kind of hasn't. Basically what we need to do is just drag all the main components onto the mesh to make them a child of the mesh, because the mesh is basically going to control all the movement for the rest of the body parts, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. I think right now we have the torso attached, and we have the face attached to the legs, which obviously isn't what we want. So let's actually, firstly, let's drag the feet on, just like that. Now they're parented, the torso's parented, drag the face onto the mesh, that's parented, and it should look like this. Now we're just going to zero out all the location and rotation for the face, legs, feet, and torso, and it should start all snapping into place. Now I know that's a little bit confusing, but like I said, you just have to slow it down. I apologise. It's basically the only way I know how to do this. So, yeah. Now, if you play an editor, we're going to get this compilation error, but that's for a different blueprint, so don't worry about that. The main thing is we actually have our metahuman inside our player character, and it is spawning in the level. Now, let's just open up our metahuman. This one here. And we're going to get LOD sync, copy that, and then we're going to paste it into here. So I'll Control V, that'll paste it in, and that will give us our hair. Unless you want to be bald, which is okay. If you want to be bald, you can be bald. No judgment. Right, and now if you want to fix this annoying error, just go to the metahuman blueprint, click target, and delete all that. That'll stop this error. We're not going to use this character anyway, but it's just annoying to have the error coming up. But if you are on the screen and we're in the same spot, congratulations. We've done everything right up to now. And honestly, this was kind of like tedious and annoying. So it's good to get to this stage and get everything correct. We can now start adding inputs and animations and stuff like that. But first, before we do any of that, I need to show you a problem when you add a metahuman. So I've just changed the animation mode to use animation asset, which basically just uses one animation, and I will show you the disconnect between the body. So let's actually go to our characters, mannequins, anims. Let's use any of these really. What we can actually do is go to filters by clicking this, and we're going to reset the filters, click it again, go down to custom or all, go to animation sequence. Alright, there we go, finally got there, and we have all these animations. So what we're actually going to do before I show you the problem is retarget all these animations. So Control A with the mannequin folder selected, this one, yeah, this one here. Control A, right click, retarget animations. I'm going to retarget from the SK Manny or Quinn, doesn't really matter, and we're going to retarget to our Ralphie body. This is why I renamed the skeletal mesh earlier, because this is where it just gets so confusing and it's not worth it. Might as well just keep stuff simple. Now if it looks like mine, you're doing everything right. We actually just want the animation sequences, so we can actually just click the filter again, animation sequence, Control plus A, and we can export animations. There we go. This will retarget all of our animations to our metahuman skeleton. So I'm actually going to create a new folder called animations, or maybe metahuman. Yeah, animations metahuman. There we go. Select the folder, and we can actually add a prefix. I'm going to add something like MHA, metahuman animations, and then we can just basically click export, and then that will retarget all the animations for us. This used to be so tedious to do. You used to have to change like all the bones, and God, it was annoying. But yeah, look how quick that is now. And here we are. We have all these animations, so straight away just click save. You should have 73 animations selected if you're doing the exact same as me. Obviously you can use your own animations if you want. This is just a starting point. Now I actually have these animations, we can use these on our character, and I'm going to use this to demonstrate the problem with our mesh. So if we go to animation asset, use animation asset, here we go, and we go down, we have all these new animations down at the bottom. Let's just get a pistol one, and as you can see, the legs and feet and other stuff is just messed up. Let's actually get a different one. Let's get a running animation so you can actually see it properly. There we go. Now it's not following the mesh even though it's parented. So this is a massive problem, and I'll show you how to fix it. If we just go to the construction script, which in my opinion, from what I know, is just event begin play on steroids, we can actually set the set the leader pose component just like this, and I'm pretty sure the mesh is in the wrong one, but let's just test it. So if we go and add our legs and compile, it should fix it, but it doesn't because we've got it the wrong way around. So let's actually just go and swap these two around. So mesh is the target and the legs are the other one. Now as you can see, the legs have snapped into place. Perfect. Now all we need to do is just add all of the other main parts of our blueprint. So let's just move this over there, and do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to highlight it, comment, and just rename it something. This is really, really good practice, and I use this all the time just to keep track of like what I'm doing, because I'm not an expert in the slightest. I am very much beginning to understand this engine more and more every day. I'm learning every single day and trying to teach people, and this just helps me like keep control of what I'm doing without getting too ADHD. So yeah, I'm just gonna rename this like, which part of the body do we want to be the leader of the rest? Then what we can do is select the other things that we need. So hold Shift. So we can actually click Shift or Control and just select the stuff we need. Go into the construction script. So wait, what do I need here? Right, all this. Let's just drag it in like this, and it'll give us all of these. And we can just plug these in to the target. So we already have legs actually. So let's just bang all these in here like this. Lovely stuff. And then when we click compile, all the magic will happen. But first, once again, I'm just going to use a comment. And just like that, compile, and the magic happens. We now have a proper character, which is correctly inherited from the mesh. Now, we don't have an animation blueprint set up, so when we actually click play, it'll use that asset, and it is running on the spot. But as you can see, it is working correctly. And we can actually change this back to animation blueprint. But we need one. So let's create one in the next video. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check the Patreon to support me. Discord for help. Like the video, and I will catch you later. Peace.